Good afternoon and welcome to the Administration and Finance and Recreation and Parks Committee for December 12, 2023. I'll begin by acknowledging the elected body present, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, Councilmember William Northland. I'm Sharon Izo, Deputy City Administrator, and I am joined by Assistant City Attorney. Oh, I'm so sorry.
He's already gone.
Councilmember Mike Palermo. I am terribly sorry. Okay. I'm joined by Assistant City Attorney Michael Petty, Executive Assistant to Council Michelle Miller. The purpose of committee meetings are for city departments to convey information to the mayor and city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of city council, and the city administrator. As deputy city administrator, I will be the chair of today's committee meetings. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during committee meetings unless specifically authorized by the mayor and council. Public comments or questions are received at the regular city council meetings held at 7 p.m. in the city council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month and the fifth Monday of each month in open forum. We do encourage citizens to engage on our online platforms, and if you have questions or need information regarding any matter, our staff is available to provide that information to you. In addition, if you have service requests or need to report a concern, we'd highly recommend utilizing the City of Roswell app or service web portal. We encourage you to view the calendar of events at roswell365.com. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee meeting for November 14th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills, seconded by Councilmember Northland. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. This evening, we have no administration action items. We'll move to the next item in finance, item number 2. Consideration of resolution declaring city's intent to seek reimbursement of certain payments from issuance of one or more tax-exempt debt financings. Presenting this evening will be Deputy Finance Director McCray.
Thank you, Sharon. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the city approved a resolution to purchase a parcel of land on the corner of Woodstock Road and Bowen Road on November 1st for $4.5 million for civic use. This resolution is intended to allow the city flexibility in using one or more of the tax-exempt funding sources based on the use. So there is no direct financial impact related to the approval of this resolution, and a budget amendment can be added to allocate the purchase with this action. I will take any questions.
Any questions? Councilmember Beeson.
So just to clarify, this isn't specific allocation to any specific fund. It's just giving us options to allocate at a later date, either for bonds or from another fund.
That is correct.
Got it. Okay. Just making sure we're not allocating today, just giving options. Thank you.
Any further questions? I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve item number 2.
And a second? Councilmember Hills. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no recreation parks action items this evening, so this concludes the Administration and Finance and Recreation and Parks Committee for December 12, 2023. Entertain a motion of adjournment. Councilmember Beeson, Councilmember Hills, seconds. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. You still have this one. Okay, that'll be Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Safety and Public Works Committee for December 12, 2023. I'll begin by acknowledging the elected body present, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Mike Palermo, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, Councilmember William Orthland. I'm Sharon Izo, Deputy City Administrator, and I am joined this evening by Assistant City Attorney Michael Petty and Executive Assistant to Councilor Michelle Miller. The purpose of committee meetings are for the city departments to convey information to the mayor and city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of city council, and the city administrator. As Deputy City Administrator, I will be the chair of today's committee meeting. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during committee meetings unless specifically authorized by the mayor and council. Public comments or questions are received at regular city council meetings held at 7 p.m. in city council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month and the fifth Monday of each month in open forum. We do encourage citizens to engage our online platforms, and if you have questions or need information regarding any matter, our staff is available to provide that information to you. In addition, if you have service requests or need to report a concern, we would highly recommend utilizing the City of Roswell app or service web portal. We encourage you to view the calendar events at roswell365.com. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the Public Safety and Public Works Committee for November 14th, 2023. Entertaining a motion. Motion by Councilmember Hills. Second by Councilmember Morthland. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. We have no items this evening for public safety, fire, or police. For Public Works, item number 2, consideration to award standby painting contracts for Painting Incorporated, Ideas Painting, and Interior Motive Incorporated. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Ms. Izo. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city's current standby painting contracts ended in September of 2023. So we put out an RFP in September. In October, we received 5 proposals from various standby painting contractors. The committee that we had assembled selected 3 of those, and we're bringing those 3 forward tonight for approval by Mayor and Council.
Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Watson, welcome. Always good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. You may not be able to answer this. You may be able to answer this. So, on September the 15th, we went through a process. A month later, we went through another process. And I don't know when that information came in from October the 16th on the 5 proposals that were requested, that were received. It's now December the 12th. For us, where's the hiccup there? Like, ideally, I'm thinking, and you correct me or educate me on where I'm wrong here. October 16th, the 5 proposals came in, you took some time, they got evaluated. Why aren't we looking at this in, say, early November?
It's a good question, Mayor. We had planned on coming in November. I was out on vacation, so it's on me, and I wanted to bring this item because this is the first time that we brought an item like this since Facility Services has been brought under Environmental Public Works. So it was on me. We were actually ready to go in November.
We were?
Yes, sir.
That's outstanding. Okay, cool. Sorry, didn't mean to bring up your vacation. Perfectly logical.
Okay.
Yeah, how was it? It's long, wasn't it?
I think it was good, but I'm afraid to answer that one, so.
It's a month vacation, if I remember right.
Yes, sir, it was the full month, so.
Takes pride.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Motion by Councilmember Morthland. Councilmember by, second by Councilmember Hills. All in favor? Passes unanimously. I do have one question for you all. These are, the last 2 that we have passed could move to Monday night. the 18th, or we could wait and move these to January, and I should probably be asking for clarification on that, or where you would like these to go as far as the agenda goes.
My opinion is we have a small agenda Monday night, and depending upon the conversations of what the next two conversations look like. So I would say go ahead and put them on Monday night's agenda. Pretty simple matters if my colleagues agree. Sarah, will you be there?
Flagging, I will not be present for Monday night's meeting, as I was previously scheduled to be out of town before the special call was scheduled. However, I will leave it into the very responsible hands of the rest of mayor and council. I will defer to y'all as to how lengthy I don't want to load up an agenda for something and then head out of town and just say you guys enjoy. So I will defer to y'all.
Simple matters. I think probably a good idea. If everybody's okay, let's put them on Monday night's agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right. As we have no further items, this will conclude the Public Safety and Public Works Committee for December 12, 2023. We'll entertain a motion of adjournment. Councilmember Hall, Hills. Yes. Second by Councilmember Beeson, all in favor. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Has anybody seen Councilman Palermo?
I got him on the second one.
Here we go. Here we go. Too good to be true.
Dynamic duo.
Did you run this morning?
I did.
It was really cold, wasn't it?
It was cold.
What time did y'all run?
About 4 to 6, 5:30, 4 to 6.
How would you like? Yeah, well, it was getting balmy by 7.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Community Development and Transportation Committee for December 12, 2023. I'll begin by acknowledging the elected body present, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Mike Palermo, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember Geely Hills, Councilmember Will Northland. I'm Sharon Izzo, Deputy City Administrator, and I'm joined by Assistant City Attorney Michael Petty and Executive Assistant to Council Michelle Miller. The purpose of committee meetings are for the city departments to convey information to the mayor and city council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of city council, and the city administrator. As Deputy City Administrator, I will be the chair of today's committee meeting. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during committee meetings unless specifically authorized by the mayor and council. Public comments or questions are received at the regular city council meetings held at 7 p.m. in the city council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month and the fifth Monday of each month in open forum. We do encourage citizens to engage on online platforms. If you have any questions or need information regarding any matter, our staff is available to provide that information to you. In addition, if you have service requests or need to report a concern, we highly recommend utilizing the City of Roswell app or service web portal. We encourage you to view the calendar of events at roswell365.com. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the Community Development and Transportation Committee meeting from November 28th, 2023. Entertaining a motion. Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Beeson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously, thank you. We have no actions items this evening from Community Development. The next item from Transportation is item number 2. Consideration for the mayor and/or city administrator to authorize execution of a memorandum of agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the T-Splast 1 Big Creek Parkway project. Mr. Littlefield?
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks.
Nyza. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A project overview for Big Creek. The Big Creek Parkway project is the T-Splosh 1 project approved by voters in 2016. The project will construct a new 2-lane roadway with bicycle and pedestrian facilities between Warsaw Road and Old Alabama Road. project includes GDOT building a new bridge over the Georgia 400 Expressway as part of their Express Lane project. Ongoing project development is in collaboration with GDOT. Coordination specifically relates to final design plans for the Georgia 400 Express Lane project. At the December 11, 2023 Mayor and Council meeting, a resolution was approved to request appropriations from the Georgia General Assembly for the Big Creek Parkway project. Council voted to change the project alignment back to the original 2016 alignment. State funding conditions. If state funding are received, the project must adhere to GDOT state funding requirements. Engineering oversight by GDOT is a requirement for project receiving state funding, and GDOT requires the execution of an MOA for preliminary engineering oversight. Staff is seeking approval to execute the memorandum of agreement with GDOT with a budget not to exceed $30,000 for preliminary engineering oversight if state funds are allocated at a later date. The Mayor and Council approval is required for executing the MOA with GDOT and allocating funds for preliminary engineering oversight. And the MOA and engineering oversight will only be activated if the city later receives state funding for the Big Creek Parkway project. The financial impact is the amount not to exceed $30,000. Funding in the amount of $32,381,257 is available in the Big Creek Parkway T-SPLOS-1 account. And then next steps, if approved, will go to an upcoming council meeting. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only comment is, I'd just like to acknowledge, this is Councilmember Palermo's last committee meeting, and I know there's some tears down here at the end, and Michael was transportation liaison last year, I think, as well as the year before. 1 year. So I know this is a sweet homecoming to be talking about these items. So thanks for your work, Michael. I'm just want to acknowledge, this is your last committee meeting. So.
It is my last committee meeting, and definitely appreciative to be here with this group, and really exciting again to be talking about really improving the Big Creek Parkway back to the original layout, which is certainly what we heard from a lot of residents is what they would use versus the one that was modified in 2019. So really happy about this mayor and council and staff finding a way to make it happen.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll
Just to
entertain.
say, thanks for moving so quickly on this.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Councilmember Hills. Second. By Councilmember Palermo, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 3, consideration to approve the Transportation Master Plan update, presented by Mr. Cox.
Yes, good evening. This has been a long time coming. I'm going to let our Transportation Planning Manager, Mr. Mark Dana, who was recently promoted into the role earlier this year, give a rundown and presentation on the master plan today. And before I begin, I also want to recognize Caitlin Martin in the audience, who was a big help in making this a seamless product for the city of Roswell. Her technical expertise in mapping analysis and data analysis is very invaluable, so we really appreciate Caitlin being on the team. So Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get this home.
Thank you, Dave. And yes, thank you, Caitlin. She dug through a lot of data to put this thing together and get to where we are. So the background, the aim of this is to become the #1 family community in America. It's one of Roswell's goals. It's a goal of the TMP as well. This is our 6th update since 2006. Every few years we go back in and kind of do minor updates. This was a total rewrite from cover to cover. First time we've done that since 2014, so pretty big deal. Its main goal is to identify current network issues like congestion, safety issues, bicycle pedestrians also included. We did utilize some pretty cool software that Mayor and Council gave us money to get streetlight data. So we can, it's anonymous tracking of cell phone data to see where cars are coming from, going to, kind of congestion data we can get from that. It's a lot of stuff. We had 2 public meetings last year, 2 in person. There was also a virtual meeting we held online. So basically, after all that, we have 191 projects, including our annual programs like resurfacing, sidewalk, that kind of stuff. We do have a financial chapter in there. It basically goes over different funding sources, federal money, state money, local money like bonds and T-SPLOST. Infrastructure Investment Act, we're always looking at that, so lots of federal money out there. And then, yeah, like I said, city bond and T-SPLOST referendums. It was done in-house, so we kind of looked at some similar studies we paid consultants for. They're normally between $200,000 and $250,000, so this was a good savings for the city. Implementation going forward, it's going to be, so this is kind of a living document, is what we like to say. It's going to, you know, in a few years, probably going to go back and touch it again, update it, add projects, remove any that have been built. We'll continue working with the elected officials and citizens on that. Funding is a big issue. As I said, we'll continue looking for that. We appreciate the elected officials' help in helping us find that. Projects, as you all may know, take a very long time from conceptualization in here to getting shovels in the ground, getting it built. We're also been working on the internal best practicing, seeing what we can do more in-house. Sidewalk work we kind of do in-house now, and do some traffic calming type stuff that we can handle ourselves. So, and like I said, it is a living document, so mayor and council can amend project lists at any time moving forward. This isn't locking you into anything. Just because it's in here or not in here doesn't mean things can't be added later. Then yeah, further updates can be made based on new information. So our project list, so yeah, we've pulled this. We didn't just come up with 191 brand new projects. We pulled them forward from previous transportation master plans. We have a North Fulton comprehensive transportation plan, which is all the 5 cities of North Fulton. We pulled projects from that. Also our bicycle and pedestrian plan that was adopted 2 or 3 years ago. That's kind of where the bicycle pedestrian projects came from for this. And then the scoring of the projects, we kind of broke it down in between safety and traffic data. So the safety, we looked at injuries, if there were any fatal crashes, accident rates at intersections, and then risk factors like speeding, that kind of stuff we looked at. As far as traffic, we look at level of service, which is how long you have to wait at a traffic signal to get an A through an F score. Cut through traffic, we used that street light data that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, here's a good example. So on the right is showing the percentage of cut through traffic on our roadways. That took a lot of work. Thank you again, Caitlin, for that.
You will explain what cut-through traffic is, the origin.
Yes, cut through traffic is basically their trips that begin and end outside the city of Roswell. So I don't live in Roswell, but I come here for work, so I'm not cut through traffic. I'm coming here as a destination. Vice versa, if my work's downtown, they're not gonna be cut through. But this shows basically the percentage of trips during rush hour, I believe is what we looked at on this one, that don't start or end in the city of Roswell. You can see they're kind of focused a lot on our state routes and the busier routes. It also kind of lines up with the map on the left. Those are kind of our crash density maps. You can see 400 and Holcomb Bridge is kind of lit up. Same with Highway 9 and Holcomb Bridge. But that's just kind of an example of some of the data. We've got a ton of these maps in the document and different data sources we pulled from to get these scores. And these are our recommendations. So this is kind of a big overview. It's too much to have all the road and bike projects on one map. So these are all the roadway projects. You can see a good spread there of the city. The legend kind of in the center there, you can see we've got bridge projects, intersections. All that yellow is our traffic calming, which I didn't mention. That is the first time we've included a traffic calming section in the TMP. We haven't had one of those before, so those are kind of our dangerous roadways that we want to kind of slow traffic down on. And this is the bicycle and pedestrian projects, mostly multi-use trails. We do have some off-system trails. That just means it's not in our right-of-way, it runs along a river or a greenway. And then sidewalk projects. So yeah, the next step will be to approve this. Like I said, it's not locking into anything. It's a living document, can be changed and edited. It's no financial obligation. We'll continue to seek funding. That's a big thing what we do in the planning department division is look for money and then make plans. So, that is it for me. Any questions?
Councilmember Hall.
I love the maps and the analysis of the cut-through traffic and the heat maps. Are those available for the public to view on the website somewhere, or can they be put out on the website?
So we're actually in the process of inventorying all the maps, because that's what people want to see. I mean, that's what we geek out on. That was probably the most fun part of this project. We can make those available. We have a lot of the data in our appendix of the master plan, but if you want to see specific maps, like if you're looking for a certain corridor, that would be something we'd have to generate over the next couple weeks before our subscription expires.
No, I think our residents would be very interested in some of this, and it's great software and great information just to be aware of.
Okay.
Maybe they'll want to stay away from certain streets if they see that these are the most heavily traveled during.
Yeah, the data's been fantastic. It proves a lot of things, it also disproves a lot of things, so it's a good tool to have in our tool belt. So we can definitely put that in the appendix if the council wants maps or things put in the appendix for the public to see on the website. That'd be something we could consider.
The whole document will get posted with, including maps and everything, but we can also have another section that's just maps or something.
That's what I just thought. There's probably a variety of just maps that would be really interesting.
Councilmember Palermo?
Thank you. Mark, Caitlin, Jeff, Dave, just, I think, great job. What I want to call out is really just the approach and really the philosophy, which I've seen a complete 180. You know, 2 years ago, it was, and prior, there was definitely very much, I felt just and clearly a lot of residents felt there's just such a focus of how to move cars as quickly through Roswell, no matter where those cars were coming from or going or anything like that. And definitely everything I've seen from your department is without a doubt a lot more focus on safety and quality of life for Roswell residents. And obviously quality of life does mean, you know, creating opportunities for Roswell residents to get places in an automobile, as well as bicycle, golf cart, walking, running, all that, and just definitely much more balanced, which I appreciate from the whole transportation department.
Councilmember Beeson?
Love y'all for doing this. However, point of contention on the cut-through traffic definition. Could you go back to the slide for the cut-through traffic? Can you refresh my memory again on how you defined cut-through traffic for the set of data?
So it's vehicle trips that have an origin and destination not in the city of Roswell.
Not in the city of Roswell. So personally, I guess the way that I would define cut-through traffic is cars, automobiles cutting through an area, typically residential, who don't originate or are trying to get there. However, they're using non-arterial roads, path of least resistance. I will use myself as an example. I am cut through traffic in residential areas quite often. If I am taking my child from a swim team in Wildwood Springs, the path of least resistance is actually through Brookfield, so I will take Oak Haven and go down in order to get to my neighborhood. I also have...
Duly noted.
I just like to wave at you when I drive by. Or also, one that I typically use very often, I have a vendor that I use off of Old Alabama. I do not live in East Roswell, so I typically will use Old Alabama Connector, or I will use Roxburgh, which goes through Country Club of Roswell, in order to cut over depending on rush hour traffic. I will take whatever Waze sends me, and Waze can send me in some very creative ways. And I think that's, to Councilmember Hall's point, I realize that some folks might look at the map and think, oh, that's a more heavily traveled area. I think a lot of folks are like myself, where I know exactly where I'm going, but I will map it every single time to take the path of least resistance based off live data. And oftentimes that goes through residential neighborhoods. Based off the way that we've defined cut-through traffic as originating outside and ending outside of the city, as opposed to even people in Roswell cutting through residential areas, is there a way that we're going about addressing that to where you're avoiding having people sent through neighborhoods in order to get through the path of least resistance?
Well, the one thing I just want to point out, this is probably the easiest way to identify cut-through traffic. We've spoken to residents all across town that they see cut-through traffic. They don't know where the people live. A lot of times it's their own neighbors, you know, people who live one subdivision over. So they just think the people are from out of town, but a lot of it is Roswell residents. So one thing we looked at when coming up with these cut-through scores, it wasn't just the cut-through traffic alone. We looked at safety data, speeding data. We also factored in when our repaving program would come into play, because the logic would be if we're going to add traffic calming features, we would likely do that when we repave the road. That's the best time to do it. And the Mayor and Council recently gave us the funding for the new PCI, the Pavement Condition Index scoring. That was a great tool that utilized to identify our repaving program over the next 5 years. So we tethered that to our traffic calming program. So that's why you'll see those yellow lines on that other map. It all dovetails with all those factors. Now, in regards to, I think what you're talking about is, I know a lot of cities have struggled with cut-through traffic, so they might implement artificial restrictions or turn restrictions during certain times of day to mainly aimed at the travel apps like Waze or Google, things like that. We did not take that into account, but those are definitely things staff can consider moving forward. It's just kind of a hot button issue because it might help one neighborhood, but it hurts others. We had requests from citizens, why can't you put a turn restriction here? Well, that helps you, but that hurts other Roswell residents, other commuters. So it's a delicate topic to find a balance.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily addressing, to use the mayor's terminology, I don't think that we're necessarily trying to solve the problem at this point. It's more so making sure that we're seeing more complete analysis of what's actually cut through traffic. I understand that there's cut through from other non-Roswell residents, but I, as a Roswell resident, I am cut through when I'm cutting through other people's neighborhoods because it's the path of least resistance. And oftentimes in those situations, not saying myself, it's folks who are trying to get home fairly quickly, and the moment you come off of that path of resistance, which is traffic, you start to fly through the neighborhood because you're trying to make up for lost time. You don't have any type of obstacles in the way. So I think in those situations, I don't know necessarily how to approach how you would analyze that. I don't know if it's looking at areas that have connections to arterial roads and determining are they actual residents who are going there. That said too, I'm sure there are people who, I'll use Oak Haven as an example. I'm from Brookfield as well.
It's actually on the map. Oak Haven is actually.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'll use Oak Haven as an example. I have a feeling too that Oak Haven, while there are people who are using it as a cut through and are speeding, I also have a feeling there are some Brookfield residents who go flying down that road as well. I know that there's been some major concerns in that neighborhood for a long time. I want to make sure that while we're addressing the cut through Roswell
The
issue.
biggest problem I
But
have.
the neighborhood issue.
Coming from your neighborhood are obviously
I
the biggest groups.
Me and my minivan tearing up
right.
Oak Haven. No, I just want to make sure that we're addressing the cut through residential area. The one concern is anybody who's outside of Roswell, but I think another concern is people who are trying to just cut through neighborhoods and speeding as a result.
Any further comments? Just want to mention that Councilmember David Johnson has joined us.
By the way, Mr. Chairman, have you instituted a new demerit program for new city council people? They come in past 30 minutes in a committee meeting when it's about to end. There's a demerit program. Where is it?
So I just want to mention, so again, what I definitely appreciate is even just the fact that RDOT's having the discussion of cut-through traffic, because that's not something that was discussed from an analysis standpoint. Obviously, it was discussed with complaints years ago, but the fact that it's actually being analyzed. But I'd argue really the big part that addresses what Councilmember Beeson is addressing is really what you mentioned earlier, which is traffic calming measures. Is that bottom line is we don't care who it is cutting through the neighborhood. We need to slow that traffic down. And so in every single neighborhood, we need, where there's interest, where there's support from the residents, we need to look for ways to make it easier to add traffic calming measures, which I believe in the very different philosophical viewpoint that I feel is coming from RDOT now versus from 2 years ago and prior, that this is setting the city up for success and residents up for success by creating options, by prioritizing that. Because frankly, you know, I think there's certainly the risk. I don't have Waze, but I certainly think there's the risk that so many different streets could have people that are cutting through. And just at the end of the day, I think what's important is we're just really making it very easy for staff and very easy for Roswell residents to consistently add as many traffic calming measures as possible wherever residents have that need.
Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, I think, by the way, I've said it to you before, I'm going to say it to you publicly again. Thank you. Great job. You've done the presentations to us before at some of the strategy meetings. This is information we've all been collecting. Been a lot of feedback. Y'all have done a great job. And Caitlin, thank you as well. Glad you're here. But Mark, really appreciate you and the team. Dave, Jeff, underneath your leadership, I think we've made massive strides in 23 months on transportation planning and strategy. The reality is, and I think, y'all both alluded to it, we are somewhat in the information gathering piece, because a lot of it, you said it well, Dave, we're proving some things and we're disproving some things. And that's a process of being informed and getting access to information and then illuminating that information and distilling on it, making distinctions on it. And one of the things that I think we can all say, that we all believe is anecdotally, that we all feel like, whether it's Roswell or another city, is that we tend to drive too fast, right? Whether we're driving on our neighborhood road, arterial road, secondary road, primary road. And I think that we all feel like that is something that in Roswell, that we'd like to be intentional about, hey, let's slow down Roswell. And the truth is that all of us I want you to slow down, and I want you to slow down, and I want you to slow down. When it comes to me, I'll make a couple exceptions. I don't want to really slow down. And I think, from a quality of life perspective, that's something that we as the elected leadership are going to have to convey that message in a way of saying that part of our planning is, and the strategic objectives is to slow down our city to enhance the quality of life. And yes, that includes secondary roads, and yes, that includes neighborhoods and arterials. And then we'll make some distinctions about this as we go through, right, where it's state routes and which state routes it is. But this is really great information gathering and beginning to do real things. And part of that, like you didn't really touch on the 85th percentile very deeply. But one of the strategies that we've already begun to employ is to begin to really measure speed in a way of saying, we want to start measuring speed and doing things to reduce speed so that we can measure speed in the future to continue to reduce the speed under the auspices of the state, the authority that the state has versus the authority that we have. And I think part of this is the TMP is a lot of things, but if I were to distill it down, I would say it's slow down. It's really slow down Roswell so we can enhance one another's quality of life. And there's some distinctions we're going to make on that together. And my street's a great example. Oak Haven's a great example, because what this illuminates is that, yep, there is traffic that originates outside the city of Roswell and ends outside of Roswell that cuts through on the street that I live in. Not a surprise. I think to Mike's point, to Sarah's point, it's also true is if I eliminated all that traffic, I'd still have a fair amount of traffic that was from my neighborhood. It's a big neighborhood. And I'd also have traffic cutting through from people who live in my neighborhood, in my city. But the first piece is to get the information to start illuminating, to make better decisions. Like, how do we want to treat each other better with traffic and slow it down? And this is a really, really significant step. Like you said, it's been 9 years, really, since we've done this, from shoulder to shoulder, cover to cover. And it's a really good piece of work. And I'm sure we'll find some folks who'll be unhappy with some pieces of it. But as I went through it, I was very impressed with the body of work. It was a really, really good job. And thank you for your significant efforts for our city on this.
Councilmember Beeson.
Just as a point of clarity, I completely understand the thought process behind, as long as we're identifying cut-through traffic, we should be traffic calming in all neighborhoods. The reason why I think it's important is because if that's one of the weights for determining tier levels and how we approach projects and when we approach projects based on priority, I realize that cut-through originating in and out of the city are going to have an impact. But to my previous point about cut-through traffic within Roswell, so that non-residential commuter who's cutting through residential areas to get to where they're going, I'll use for example, because is Oak Haven on there?
Yes, ma'am. I'll show you where it is. It's right up here. It's right up here.
It's not on the map.
Brookfield Parkway is. Brookfield Parkway, which is an extension. So sorry, Oak Haven was not, but Brookfield Parkway.
Right, so that's my point, is Oak Haven is one I can think of off the top of my head with a major speeding issue. Roxburgh is the other, and I don't think Roxburgh is on this map either, correct?
Roxburgh inside Willow Springs
Correct.
is not on here.
Right, so to the point that I made, again, completely anecdotally on my end, those are two that I know I cut through, but I would never show up in your data set as somebody who lives inside of Roswell. And of course, as a Roswell City Council member, never leave the confines of my city limits. You're not gonna show those through all the data sets, and therefore those would never reach priority projects because in fact they would never show in your data sets. That's not to say they don't have cut-through traffic from people who aren't from that neighborhood cutting through the neighborhood. So I would much rather, I completely support this. I love all the data sets that you used. I love the weights that you used. The crash heat map was excellent, the safety data points. Just for a future recommendation for how we analyze the data for cut-through traffic, I would like to use a more well-rounded approach and realize that there are people cutting through residential areas who still live in Roswell. For just a point of future contention. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the best examples, Ms. Beeson, is Wave Tree right here behind Roswell Area Park. I mean, it's only registering at, I think, single digits, 4%, but the Roswell local traffic is using it a lot to get to the school, mainly Roswell North Elementary, so that's what we hear about. So there are some outliers here for sure. And also, I just want to point out, there are some roads that we clip the data out at like 2%, so anything under 2% or around that isn't reflecting on this map. Because if it was,
Roxbury is actually 1%
Yeah.
cut through from out of town traffic.
and we clip the data because otherwise the whole map would be lit up. Yeah,
Right.
so we just kind of, we limited
I
those
do want
bottom
to say
numbers.
also on that, we looked at speeding data, kind of weighed in more, especially for these neighborhood roads. If we have bad speeding problems, that weighs a lot more than cut-through traffic to us. We're trying to look at it in a holistic approach. Yeah.
So what you're saying in that situation is that the weights would then counterbalance based off of the speeding, because those, for example, Oak Haven's a straight shot, and you don't really hit a stop sign until maybe 3/4 of a mile in, half a mile in.
Right, so if there's a bad speeding issue there, yeah, we're still gonna look at that for traffic calming and something we can do to a road diet or something, even if there's no cut-through traffic.
So the speed will still ding it on your
Yes.
priority map. Got it, thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Is he allowed to talk? Are you sure?
Apologize about my tardiness. I won't get into a dissertation of surgeons and anesthesias and timelines.
Please, God, no.
First of all, I probably have been reading transportation master plans in Roswell since 2017 when I moved into my current neighborhood. This is by far one of the best plans I've ever seen. So thank you guys for your work on this. Somewhere in this plan, and I cannot find it in the 5 minutes that I've been here, Ascot Road is brought up, and there's 300-something cars going out of the neighborhood on Ascot and 500 coming in. And Ascot has speed bumps, and it has, lots of cut-through traffic go through Ascot, which leads to Roxbury, and then it goes to, and even with speed bumps, cars flies. So I guess my question to you guys would be, we have a road that has cut-through traffic, has cars that go too fast, and already has some form of traffic calming. What do we do next?
If there's already physical barriers or vertical deflection or things like that, we can always bring in enforcement issues. One of our most popular programs is the speed feedback signs, little radar gun signs that light up. Those are very popular with our residents. We have a whole fleet we deploy around the city. They're in so much demand, we have to rotate them around. That's one issue. We can also work with our law enforcement officials and Chief Conroy to get the traffic enforcement unit out there to do more profound or severe enforcement. That usually registers with the public. If there's already vertical deflection out there, it's hard to put more because it's a hassle for the local residents. Because the one thing we found is when people want things like speed bumps, they want them in the neighborhood, they just don't want them in front of their house. They always want it down the street or around the corner, It's a challenging thing to find a balance between what the residents in the neighborhood want.
Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Wilson.
Thank you. Well, actually, it's technically Mr. Chairman. I said Ms. Chairman in the beginning, but I realized actually it's gender neutral. It's Mr. Chairman, correct? I think it's Mr. Chairman. Isn't it Mr. Chairman? Madam Chairman. Madam Chair, forgive me. You're exactly right. I stand corrected in a gigantic way. Madam Chairman.
You still have the floor.
Thank you. I forgot what I was going to say. But David, I think to your point that is part of, this is kind of like, first of all, we had to get TMP done, right? Well, when we came in, we said, look, the TMP, it's all over the place. Can we bring some discipline to it, and can it align with some of the things that I think that we really want, like enhancing the character and the quality of our life? and doing that in numerous ways through transportation, and I think this team has been earnest about doing that. I hope that when we come together, that one of our big goals will be, one of our big tasks will be, is how do we do that? And there are a lot of pieces that are recommended in, but this is a transportation master plan. But really, the action is going to come from us and the things that we determine to do or not do. And they're going to give some recommendations, and there's some things they're going to discern and discover, and there's some things they're going to inform us of, and there's some things they're going to have to go say, hey, we didn't know about this, or somebody else is doing this, let's try this here. And some of it may work, and some may not work. And I'll give you an example, and don't hold me accountable for not knowing the exact numbers on this, because I don't count this. But what it feels like to me is that what I get more feedback on just neighbors, not neighbors talking to me, but people who email me on, are speeding issues in my neighborhood, where people say, like, would you please do something about my speeding in the neighborhood? Doggone it, the police don't come, you're not doing anything. That's what I feel like I get the most heat on as a public official. I may be wrong about that, but that numerically, that's what I feel like I get the most pressure on. And that doesn't mean, hey, I think holistically, that's why we have to be wise about how to respond to that. We can send the police out, we do that often, they go respond, they go address it for a couple of days, but it really does address the organic nature of the problem. And that, to me, is what the TMP about is beginning to address the organic nature of how do we slow down, right? How do we enhance one another's quality of life? And there's a whole myriad of measures to do that, because I think that's something we all want. And all of us, by the way, will push back a little bit when it comes to us, right? I want you to slow down, David, but the reality is, and I'm working on slowing down, but I got some reasons I'm not going to slow down. And I think as a community and as leadership, it's something we have to convey to our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow residents, is it's in our best interest to slow down. It's in one another's best interest, whether it's our children or grandchildren or our aunts or uncles or somebody we don't, it's in our best one of collectively taking care of one another and enhancing and having a better quality of life and living in a city that we want to live in. There is a stake that we all have in that, and that's how we drive. And there are a lot of measures in here that's not just about vehicles, right? Because there's a lot of things we're going to do in the mass transportation plan that aren't about cars. But the vast majority of us are talking about cars and how we drive.
Councilmember Hall.
Just to dovetail on a couple of things you said, we as a community, we need education, and that's educating all of the community and the drivers about slowing down. And that dovetails into a separate little item to hopefully become a silver city for the biking community. Education is one of the things. Not only bicyclists have to be educated, but the commuters have to be educated. And that can work nicely in the education program where we educate our residents and our drivers about the initiative to slow down. Just wanted to add that.
And Madam Chairman,
Mayor Wilson.
thank you. I just want to say, David, that ideal that you had about, you wanted to put a wall, I know, at Cherokee County and a wall at Gwinnett County to keep all the external traffic out. I don't know if we can get that done, but it's a great idea.
Councilmember Johnson.
One thing I do want to add, education's great, but with the Uber drivers going 45 miles an hour in the neighborhood at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're not going to listen to the education, right? Yeah, it comes down to where do we put our focus, right? A lot of these people in this room ran a campaign on protecting our neighborhoods. I would like to protect the people inside our neighborhoods, everyone knows why I'm here. I don't think we need to hash that out. My point being is, we talk about there are safety. We do have a neighborhood, common plan. It doesn't work for my neighborhood. It doesn't work for your neighborhood. There's not enough sight line, right? You have to have 1,000 feet of sight line. So I think this is awesome. I love it. As we dig deeper into how do we protect the neighborhoods, we're going to have to make some hard decisions of, do we allow what do you call the concrete island things with
Medians?
you go Yeah, yeah. Do you allow?
What'd you say, Jeff? What'd you call it? Chicanes.
That's where.
We already allow that.
I know, but you have to have a certain amount of sight line.
Gotcha.
You don't have that on Roxburgh Drive at any, maybe on one
What-
spot.
And remind me, and why not speed bumps?
They're not allowed.
Well, they're not allowed because the city council decided to not allow them.
Right.
So, which I voted against. I felt they should be a toolbox if there's a safety
We
concern
are
for
working
residents.
with fire to come up with some sort of design.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's other cities that, you know, they have tapered speed bumps.
Right.
You know, so like if you want it, if it's.
But my point is, it's up to the mayor and council. So in 2019, in a 4-2 vote or a 3-2 vote, mayor and council decided to not allow speed bumps anymore. But at any point in time, mayor and council could decide that they are going to allow speed bumps, speed tables, whatever. And I'm very big on the more tools in the toolbox. It shouldn't be a first resort, but the more tools in the toolbox to have safety.
I think I think you're on a page that we all agree with, because I think, I've written some things down that I haven't brought to y'all, and they're like, they're pretty extreme measures, including on the enforcement side. Like, because to me, it's really about quality of life in your neighborhood, or anybody's neighborhood, wherever it is, right? It's about one another's quality of life, and it's a big deal. And I went back and looked at some stuff before I even ran for mayor, some stuff I wrote about this as a resident, and some ideals. And some of them, you can't get done because of state law, right? State law interferes and just, we don't have the authority to do some things. But there are some things, a lot of things we do have the authority to do. And I think, David, to the point of this conversation is, we're going to be making some tough decisions that I think some people are going to say, ooh, I don't like that. But I think that the reason we're going to be making those decisions because we believe it's in the best interest of enhancing one another's quality of life. And those are going to be a myriad of things. I think Mike just said, enlarge your toolbox, enlarge the toolbox. To your point, one of the things, David, that when I came in 2 years ago was there was a lot of things that Mike just kind of addressed it. Well, we can't do this. Well, why can't we do this? Well, because it's in the code, or it's in order. Well, doesn't mayor and council, aren't they the elected leaders that can do something about it because they're elected by their peers? They go do something about it. So you got elected. And yes, it's time for us, I think, to get serious about our quality of life with respect to our master transportation plan. And I'm really glad you said that. This is a massive improvement from a planning perspective.
Absolutely.
Massive.
Absolutely.
And I think to your point, you and us, we're going to have a lot of conversations, strategy-wise, to begin enacting things to say, let's get serious about this.
I want to make one comment. I mean, listen, speed bumps, we want to bring those back on the table, all about it. But there's a road that I see every single day where speed bumps don't work. So we really need to look into, our quality of life, our Roswell residents is, negatively affected by cars flying through neighborhoods, right? And when we get to the point where someone feels safe walking on a street in a neighborhood, then we've done our job right. That's it. I mean, that should be our goal.
I think it's well said.
That's all. My stump speeches are done.
That's a good stump speech.
I'm here for 5 minutes. You're welcome.
By the way, Madam Chairman is kind, because there is a penalty. I'll share with you what it is after the fact.
I can't wait.
Further comments? Councilmember Hills.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you to all of our Department of Transportation talent working on this. I want to support what Councilmember Hall said a minute ago about education. This is so deep and comprehensive. I mean, it takes a while to take it all in, but I do think that this will bring awareness to a lot of our residents what we're doing. And it's put together and laid out in a very easy to read and understand format, which is a big deal. I don't think most people think of government being that way. So the way that you all, plus Caitlin, did a lot of cheerleading tonight, put this together in a way that folks can actually find what they're looking for and have a visual, which is helpful for people like me, and I think 98% of people in the city, to kind of know what the status is. I mean, what, 9 years ago? And we've done a lot of improvement just in the last 2 years to get up to speed, to put this much information together in a way that's not really intimidating. So my hat's off to you on that. I like to speed down Will Street because it's one street over from me, so I'll honk the next time I'm on there. I really don't. I'm kind of an old lady in my neighborhood. But thank you so much. This is a massive improvement, and I'm looking forward to implementing everything we've got in here.
Willie, you stepping in?
Any further comments?
You stepping in, Willie? Okay.
Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Hills. Second, Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. This concludes the Community Development and Transportation Committee for December 12, 2023. Entertain a motion of adjournment. Are we going to move this one to special call, or you want to? 100% special call. Okay, entertaining a motion for adjournment. Councilmember Morthland, second. Councilmember Hills, all in favor? Passing unanimously. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.
Madam Chairman, is it Mr.